You're listening to Green Ovation with Diane, the show where global warming is always a hot topic and green entrepreneurs are even hotter, where we chat to ordinary citizens who are innovating extraordinary climate solutions.
Good morning, listeners. We are back on air, and you are so welcome to join us at the Green Ovation show hosted by me, Diane. And as you know, we love talking all things climate change, the environment, sustainability, but most of all, we love talking solutions. And in my view, small business, entrepreneurs, they are the ones really shaping this new discourse in South Africa. This morning, we'll be chatting to two entrepreneurs who joined the JP Morgan Small Business Booster Program for those businesses involved in the green economy. And just to find out what is their experience as entrepreneurs in this burgeoning green economy, to understand why it is that they opened the businesses that they did, how they are finding it, what the challenges are, if they have any advice for other entrepreneurs. In just a minute, we'll be joined by Thembani. Thembani, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Diane.
Good morning, Thembani. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thembani's name is Thembani Maranele. He is the owner of a company called Jeka Resources. Is that correct, Thembani? Did I get that
Yes,
right?
it is.
Great.
Yes, it is.
Thembani, please will you open the show and tell the listeners a bit about your particular business and why you decided to go down this, may I call it a treacherous road as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Diane. What we have, it's Jeka Resources. We basically started this company on the back of the RIP program, the government program for renewable energy. And what we focused on is development for solar parks, solar PV projects. And what we do currently is we develop large-scale projects. We also develop small-scale. We've got solutions. And we decided to do this mainly because we realized that at the end of it all, the sun will never send you a bill. So
Not like
the
Eskom.
resources are limited.
Sorry, not like Eskom, yeah?
Yeah, not Eskom. So the resource is unlimited. I was born with the sun out. I'm almost 40 and the sun is still out. So until the day I leave this earth, it will be out. So why not capitalize on the natural resource that is so rich in South Africa and unlimited?
So when we talk, and particularly listeners, Thembani was part of the alumni from the group that I participated in at the Gibbs Enterprise Development Academy. And what we had was a group of 50 entrepreneurs, small business owners who are working in the green economy space. I think often, Thembani, we take for granted that people understand what we mean when we say small scale, light scale. What exactly are you talking about in terms of solar? Is it solar geysers? Is it solar panels? Just to explain to our listeners.
Okay. Yeah. When we talk like small scale, we're talking solar panels on the roof of your house. We're talking solar panels on the roof of a commercial building, of an office park. And then we talk solar panels on the ground supporting a small industry like your mining industry. And then we talk of large scale as a solar park that would support your municipality, so to say, your utilities.
That's great. It sounds exciting. Thembani, we've never really chatted about what it was that made you go into this field. And I ask the question of many entrepreneurs who do come onto the show. When you were a young boy growing up, and you say you're nearly 40, which makes you a really old man by some standards. When you were growing up, I mean, what were your aspirations? What were your dreams? Was it to go into an engineering field, to own a business? What was it you were dreaming of becoming?
Funny enough, me and my brother ran a business when we were 13. We used to sell veggies back home from Limpopo. And we never had career coaching at the time. So it was until I got into matric and I passed that my grandfather said, you need to be a doctor. So I listened to what my grandfather was telling me. So I went to Medunsa. I started by the third year, I realized that's not what I want, you know. And I changed course. I went to vets and I studied BCom. And at the end of it all, as I was working, I realized this is still not it for me. So
Mm.
I needed to still find my passion, and I was willing to take that risk to say I need to find that one industry that will make me tick, that will make me wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to do this differently today, even though I'm doing the same thing. So I eventually um, met with some guys and I did marketing. I worked at CLC, I worked at Imperial. And after that, I met with some guys who were engineers and we started talking about renewable energy at the mining industry. So what came out of that was my interest in understanding the concept of renewable energy. And I did a lot of research. So I basically I got introduced to Solar Capital, who are a developer in South Africa. They built two solar parks in the Northern Cape in DR. I worked with them, um, trying to understand the industry and what goes on into building a solar park. So within that process, I fell in love with what I was seeing and what I was doing. So I realized that this is an end-to-end business. It's unlike when I was working in corporate, where I had that one specific function. I realized my passion was understanding an industry end to end and the endless possibilities in it. What my vision has been as a young boy is I want to work in a place where I will never retire. I want to work in a space where I won't be allowed to retire. Let me put it like that. So I realized with the renewable energy space, there is no retirement of saying, I don't want solar anymore. Um, I don't want to do this because those kind of projects run for a long time. And within that, there's so many opportunities as it goes, and there's a lot of innovation. So you have to keep innovating to truly be relevant. So for me, it just was like a dream come true that I got into this space and I started looking at the value chain in terms of what happens with solar. And still, it evoked something in me that really said, this is where I was supposed to be. And for the past 5 years, I've never looked back.
That's awesome. Listeners, we are joined by Thembani Maranele. He is the owner of a company called Jeka Resources. His passion is solar power, clean energy, and participating in this country's evolving green economy as an entrepreneur. Thembani, I want to bring you back in there. We had a very interesting session last week when Gibbs launched their research report on the green economy.
Yeah,
And what I found interesting was these different viewpoints on what exactly this green economy means. I mean, when you speak to people who are not in the field or in the space, they assume you're talking to tree huggers or to
yeah,
people who chain themselves to trees or rhino or whatever the case is.
yeah,
What is your view? I mean, is there really opportunity in the green economy? I mean, that research paper spoke about murky waters.
exactly.
Is that your sense, or do you believe that there's still opportunity to grow the sector with entrepreneurs who are able to innovate?
Look, the space is for me is a very technological, is a very wide space with a lot of technological advances. So innovation is the biggest buzzword in it, as far as I'm concerned. There's a whole lot of opportunities. I think if you were to look at even the IRENA report on 2030 IRP for Africa, we need to develop renewables in Africa at 380% to actually reach that goal. So that's how the slow pace in the whole continent is when you look at the opportunities that are available. So because you have all these IRPs for Europe, for Africa, for South Africa, your IRP 2030 for South Africa guides us as to what we need to get in terms of renewables involved in the environment, in saving our environment, you realize that opportunity is endless. South Africa is currently working on the integrated resource plan for 2050. Um, uh, so you realize that there's a whole lot of opportunities and there's a whole lot of doors that it opens for young kids to innovate. and be part of this whole movement. So I truly believe our grandchildren and our children, so to say, will thank us enough if we now start that process of communication.
I agree. I completely agree. I mean, 380% is it's a bit of a leap. I attended the African Development Bank annual meetings in Zambia last year, and what I'd drawn or taken from those discussions, and I'm saying there were heads of state and there were ministers of finance from different countries across the continent who were involved,
Yeah,
and the general sentiment was that look, African countries might not necessarily have the kind of money available to pay for a lot of innovation for your utility scale plants.
yeah,
But the president of AFDB was very clear that he believes that small scale solutions, whether it be a rooftop solution for an entire community or
yeah,
whether it be for an office complex or an industrial complex, for example, he was
yes,
saying that's where he believes entrepreneurs, and particularly youth entrepreneurs, should be tapping into. That's
yeah.
clearly something which you agree with, Tembani?
Definitely, definitely. Look, especially if we were to start at a young age and have our kids understand what it's all about. Um, I'm currently, I talk to my kids currently. I think we need to start at an early age because the belief that at primary you don't need to know a whole lot of things. There are a lot of kids who are creative. I went to school with a guy in primary who were back then in what was called Standard 4, who made a helicopter and it flew. So you have great minds in kids, and we need to now start informing them of what we're doing currently, so that by the time he gets to high school, he can think outside the box. So we're not gonna force feed our kids like we were, like I was given the direction to say, you've got to be aggregate and go be a doctor. We need to have them have open minds and give them better solutions and let them think outside the box.
Yeah, there is a huge push. I mean, from different sectors and different parts of society, saying that we definitely need to start including entrepreneurship even at school level,
Yeah,
because the economy. I mean, I'm just saying we've just recently been handed a junk status, and inevitably it's going to take us three years to recover. We will definitely find ourselves in a recession. So the big
yeah,
corporates are not going to be creating jobs. That's why I was particularly keen to participate in this program, which was hosted by Gibbs, the Enterprise
yes,
Development Academy. I
yeah.
had my own thoughts going into this program. What was it for you that attracted you or drew you into the space? Why did you make the decision to enter the program?
Well, the Gibbs program. I think when I saw it first, I was at a CIPA meeting, and when I read through and I thought, in this space, I know of one technology, which is PV, that I've gotten accustomed to, and that I was researching back then and truly understanding. And I realized that there is a whole ecosystem, there's a whole value chain of things, there's a whole technology, different environment of technologies involved in this space. So how do I then understand everything that happens so that it opens up better opportunities? I mean, we after the GIBS program, I'm also looking at biomass. I've attended the Bioenergy Atlas launch with the Minister of Science and Technology 2 weeks back. And how interesting is it that after GIBS, after understanding there's better technologies and how I could create a business through those opportunities, I get to understand the biomass space in less than a week. And I'm proud to say this week, actually yesterday, met with some two people that we're looking at, two companies that we're looking at partnering into a biomass program.
Wow.
I wouldn't have done that and seen the business side of things if I didn't do the GIFT program to its full, because then now it gave me an opportunity to look at a business from the top. I was running my business just like anyone else. Just I'm happy with what I'm doing day to day. I'm getting a bit of money and it's paying me, and that's it. But you never look at the bigger picture, the broader picture. So now after Gibbs, I know that within 10 years, I could list my company owning a different portion of whatever technology and whatever project. I could sit back and say, I'm making a big investment for my kids, for my grandkids in this, and this is how I'm going to do it. So it gave me so much direction. And I'm already thinking of different technologies to incorporate into the brand.
That's great. I think the sentiment was shared by a number of people at the graduation ceremony last week that it definitely was an opportunity to not only network but to see our businesses in a different way and to also view ourselves within our own businesses differently. For me, what stands out was the very first day when we arrived, when Yogi Nambia, who heads up the Enterprise Development Academy,
Yeah.
I mean, her most powerful statement was that for most entrepreneurs, and I'm sure for all of you in the room, she said, you are so focused on working in your business and
Yeah.
not on your business, which is
Yeah.
the truth, isn't it? Because when you're starting out, it's basically it's you,
Yeah.
yourself, and you, yeah, type of thing.
Funny enough, you say that. That what I was remembering the other day is Yogi on our first day also said, the very best asset you have out of this program is not just the program itself, is the people in this room. You know, these are your biggest asset. These are people that will help you form networks and build bigger businesses. That's how you're going to grow. And that for me also stood out at the end at graduation when I looked at how much I've actually interacted and I'll keep interacting with a whole lot of people who have taught me things just because we were at Gates. You know,
Yeah.
I work with Elmond on storage systems, and there's a few consultations that we do with everyone else who was in class, mainly because now you have that pool of people that you can always call friends and business partners, and that help you innovate. And that for me, at the end, I remembered what actually Yogi said in the beginning.
Absolutely. Thembani, we're just going to go to a very quick break and we'll be back. Listeners, we are enjoying a wonderful conversation with Thembani Maranele from JK Resources. He is from the JP Morgan Small Business Booster Program, which was hosted at Gibbs Enterprise Development Academy. We're going to continue chatting about the challenges for entrepreneurs in South Africa after this short break.
Have you ever thought about the power of social media? Social media has the power to make your business grow. Grow! Yeah. Why don't you let us manage your social media? Because our business is to see your business grow. Visit us at www.bstownmedia.co.za.
Are you an innovator and solution provider? The Innovation Hub is looking for entrepreneurs in the ICT, advanced manufacturing, bioeconomy, and the green economy sectors.
If you have an innovative prototype or startup business which addresses an existing market need and you're predominantly based in Gauteng, we invite you to apply for one of our incubation programs. For more information, visit theinnovationhub.com or call 012-844-0000. The Innovation Hub is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency.
brandlive.co.za.
And you're back with the Green Innovation Show hosted by me, Diane. And we are chatting to Thembani Maranele, who is the owner of a company called JK Resources. Thembani is sharing with us a bit of his experience at the Gibbs Enterprise Development Academy. The program that he participated in was sponsored by JP Morgan. I'm not sure about you, Thembani. I was taken aback that such a big company, global business, would invest in a program which focuses on small businesses, entrepreneurs in the green economy. What were your thoughts?
Look, I think after being accepted into the program, I'll concede to the fact that I actually started researching who JP Morgan is, because at the beginning I thought they were just, I knew JP Morgan Chase from TV and understanding the bank, but when I realized that they fund countries and I have this opportunity to interact with business owners because they truly believe in the African experience and the African development and the African vision, it took me back to say I cannot fail myself in this process. I think that name on its own from the first class gave me that power to say, if there is a challenge that I should never fail in, is this, because as soon as I do this right, they will see that it's worth it for Africa. So I'm leaving this channel after I've done well. I will leave this channel for someone else to benefit from this. So it put so much pressure for me not to let the guard down, and that's what I did till the end. I made sure that I attended the classes. I made sure that I understood that what was taught to me, mainly because if a brand like that comes into a country like ours and they say, we're going to start such a program, the benefits should be far reaching and it should be beyond me. So I would see 10 generations after me benefiting from this, just because in the beginning, I did very well to make them believe it's worth it.
I think you've touched on something very interesting, Thembani. I think as entrepreneurs, when we are starting our own thing and we've been doing it for a while, we tend to lose sight of the fact that whatever we are doing has the potential to deliver long-term impact, that there is a legacy.
Yes.
And I think, I'm not sure about you, but for me, this getting together and sometimes butting heads and sometimes agreeing and disagreeing has been probably, besides the learnings, besides the academic part of it, I think this socialization of a group of entrepreneurs who come from different walks of life and different viewpoints has been phenomenal in enriching my entrepreneurship experience.
Yeah, true. And I think, what we need in South Africa is the robustness in conversation. You had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and you had one end apologizing to the other in South Africa, saying, yes, we did this. But what you never got to truly understand is the one who was sometimes wrong saying, I've healed, or the one who was wrong to say, I've healed. So that manifests itself as we go along. Someone will say something that will remind someone of something else, and they might not understand the space they're in. And you can talk of, say, for example, bombings were not that bad because they didn't happen in Sandton.
Yeah.
But when you say that to someone who grew up in Polokwane, whose bomb ripped up their house and killed 5 of their families, you're evoking an emotion out of it. So we need to allow each other to heal properly in conversation.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that when someone raises a point that, look, I'm hurting because of this, that's when we should rally together and try and listen. Because then, regardless of whether you're black or white or green, at the end of the day, we're trying to build a rainbow nation. So listening to each other and having that robust conversation, uncomfortable as it is, it needs to happen. And for me, I think that's my ultimate motto, to actually, wherever I am, sometimes people say, no, you're going way too far. But I truly understand by going too far, it gives someone an opportunity to understand who I am.
Well, for me, clearly as a communicator, and I've been in the space for a number of years, the communication part it's so critical. I mean, especially as an entrepreneur, it's a very, 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 very lonely space. You can have friends and family who support you and they can rally around you and encourage you, but it generally is a lonely space to be in. And we do all need, I don't know if it's going to sound crazy, a bit of a support group for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no, we do.
And
Where you introduce yourself and they say, hi, Diane.
I'm a lonely entrepreneur.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's so important. And I think the questions that you raised in speaking to the guy from, I think his name was Connor Nielsen from JP Morgan, who heads up the philanthropy division. I think what you were saying was important, is that now we've discovered each other as a family, and we've now fostered and forged a little family and a community of green entrepreneurs that were brought together by JP Morgan, brought together by Gibbs. What happens next? I feel like we've done this thing and it's left open-ended. What are your views on carrying this conversation forward and continuing with this alumni or fraternity of people? What are your thoughts?
Look, especially I think I raised that with him because for me, when you start something like this, I don't realize, I don't think JP Morgan realized how successful and how impactful this was going to be. Maybe they did, but I don't think our group, they truly understand how much it brought into our group because we're now brothers and sisters, we're now colleagues, we're now business partners. For them, going forward, the whole benefit of having us give input into their newer projects, into their newer conversation, would be far reaching for everyone. So I truly believe that we should keep the conversation. And I think in that meeting, I also suggested, why don't we have a forum? When do we communicate? When do we sit and say we're meeting once a week, we're meeting once a month, or once every 3 months? And this is what has gone on. I think the information we have given each other through the program needs to continue, and we need to keep encouraging each other. Like you're saying, it's a lonely space to be at. And I think if you realize in class, every month end was just a difficult period for everyone. So we need each other on month ends, where we can sit and not answer our phones because
Not answering the private
calling.
numbers.
Yes, because we know who's calling, and it's okay because we're sitting with people who are also getting the same
Yes.
calls.
Yes.
So I think for me, we need to take the conversation forward, and if there was a support system from JP Morgan, it would be appreciated. But we can carry on our own as a group. But it would be beneficial for JP Morgan because then, as they roll out this program again for another group, we could give input into what needs to happen, what has happened in our businesses, and we can help shape each other's businesses to go on.
Well, Thembani, my 2 cents worth is that at least once a month, more than just the forum, because for a number of us, and you'd even mentioned and referred to the fact that your business has now not taken a different direction, but you've expanded. I think
Yes.
the discussion now is, now that you've made this happen, you were basically the catalysts in making us grow our business and scale up and whatever. Are there not perhaps master classes that we could do where they could engage? How do you now scale up? How do you now expand without letting go of your business? I
Definitely.
think that kind of follow-up monthly program, even if it's once a month,
Yeah,
where we get together
true.
to have that kind of conversation, also understanding, I think it would definitely help. Your thoughts
Definitely.
on that?
Yeah, no, I fully support that. And you know what? Besides the sharing of information, I think we've got sisters and brothers. Even if you had a bad month, if you were to sit and listen to other stories from entrepreneurs, the same people that you've been working with, it would help to ease you down, to ease off the pain or the head that you feel about whatever happens. Because we now see each other as colleagues, and I love the fact that we joke around and we poke fun at each other. So,
Some more than
so
others. Some more than others.
yeah, true.
Thembani, it's been great chatting to you. Listeners, we were joined this morning by Thembani Maranele. He is the owner of a company called Jeka Resources. If you're looking for any sort of solar installation for your business, for your home, for your community, you can find him at Jeka Resources. Is it .coza?
.co.za, yes.
jkaresources.co.za. Thembani, before you go,
Yes.
I would like you to offer just a little bit of inspiration to other entrepreneurs wanting to venture out into the green space, number one. And number two, about programs such as what Gibbs had offered.
Okay. Look, there's one thing I always say for anyone wanting to get involved in the space: research. Do as much research as you can, because that will help elevate your pitch, elevate and give you a true understanding of what you're involved in, so that you wake up in the morning happy that you're going to do this tomorrow. So I truly believe in research. So research what you want to do and find passion in it before you even say, I'll get involved in that. Don't get involved in it for the money, as the basic principle, because then you'll fall flat. It takes time to make money in some of those technologies. So find the passion in it. In terms of the program itself, um, what I would say is people need to get involved in interacting with other people of a higher level, of the same level, of a lower level, at some space, once or twice a month, because it gives you perspective. It gives you insight into what other people are doing. And it gives it you get to learn a lot, because most of the time if you're watching TV, you're not actually getting as much info, and you can't read everything every time. So having a space where you can interact. So going to a program like gives you the chance. I mean, we had about 8 hours to interact with each other every day, every time we were attending, and that was twice a week. So by then you get to understand other people and see that whatever you're going through is not that you're an island, it's happening to everyone else. So you need to shape up and get up and get going, you know. So you need that space. So even if it's an association you join where people talk about your industry, do that. But programs like GIBS are perfect, because then you're learning something together, and it will help empower you, and you help empower each other with information.
Thank you, Thembani. It was great chatting. I feel like the 30 minutes went by too quickly.
Yeah, true.
We
Thanks very
definitely
much.
need to do one of these again. But thanks for joining us. And listeners will be back again, another short break. And we'll be chatting to another Gibbs EDA JP Morgan alumni.
Thanks very much, Diane. Thanks very much for the opportunity. Have a blessed day.
You too. Thanks.
Stay tuned to Green Ovation, the show that gets you talking, keeps you informed on climate change, innovation, and green entrepreneurs who are changing the country, the continent, and the world. Sustainability, innovation, entrepreneurship, just a few of our favorite things. Find out more about us on greenOvationSA.co.za. Follow me, Connect, on Twitter at @DD_Naidu now.
Listeners, you're tuned into the Green Ovation Show, and as you know, we talk all things climate change, green economy, sustainability, and of course solutions. And you will know if you've joined the show before, I'm a little bit obsessed about entrepreneurs and small businesses who are making a dent in the country's landscape, particularly if it's green, if it's sustainable. I get a bit crazy about it. Ruth, we were just joined a few minutes ago by Thembani from our class at GIBS. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, listeners, Ruth is a bit of a crazy woman. She started a business farming chickens. Ruth, tell us about that.
I'm also passionate about the green thing, and also just having the lessen the carbon footprint. So, I started chickens, and I refused to have anything closed up, and I wanted to offer people a chicken that doesn't have any growth hormones, that's actually lived as natural life as possible. So no lights on at night, nothing else. It goes to bed when the sun sets, it gets up when the sun rises. It can go outside, it can come in when it wants to, but basically they live like chickens in their lifespan. And so they're good, wholesome, healthy chickens when they get cold and end up on your table.
So the thing is, if you're having one of Ruth's chickens, and I can vouch for it, if you're having one of her chickens, they are the happiest chickens ever. It's in the taste, yeah? So,
The most loved.
So Ruth heads up a business called New Harmony Farm, and she's based in Magaliesburg. Ruth, won't you share with our listeners, before you started farming, and I want to hear the whole story, when you started, but also I want to hear about before you started, because on this show we try to share with our listeners stories of new ideas and new businesses to go into. What was it you were doing before you did this, and what led you into New Harmony Farm with your happy chickens?
I think one of my biggest influence was my grandfather, because growing up, I grew up with him farming, and any farming that he did, whether it was cattle farming, he had a whole variety of citrus, he had mealies, and whatever he did, he worked with the phases of the moon, and that fascinated me. So everything was done, even down to cutting his hair. He'd work with the moon phases. So that I grew up with, and I was totally fascinated with it. And then went into massage, reflexology, so just all natural forms of healing, because I had 4 children and I wanted them not to grow up with antibiotics. So dealing with nature and with natural products, herbs, working with weeds to help healing, all of these things has always been in my blood. So having 4 children sort of pushes you in different directions. My reflexology and my massage was what I did to earn money while they were growing up. But once they left school, I suddenly had this yen to go back to the farm and spent 6 months looking for this farm, and that's where it all began. Yeah.
Well, I like what you said, because when we've spoken to other entrepreneurs and other business owners, I'll always say, and I believe it, that out of your being will flow your doing. So you were a mother and you had concerns, and out of that came your doing of this farming method that you've now applied to your business. We chatted with Thembani earlier, and I mentioned that we had interesting perspectives last week shared at the graduation from different speakers of what their view is of this green economy. What is it to you? Is it just a system? Is it all about sustainability? Is it only about clean energy? What? And again, we're talking to listeners who don't necessarily understand the space that we work in. What would your 2 cents worth be of a description of what this green economy is?
Absolutely every one of us has the ability to work towards a green economy. Just the basics of sorting out your daily rubbish that you have. Putting everything into one rubbish bin is not the ideal situation. Everybody who comes into my farm knows. I've got 5, I've got 1 for the compost, 1 for the plastic and things that I can't reuse, 1 for bottles, 1 for tin, 1 for paper. If every single one of us did that, we wouldn't have the landfill situation that we've got at the moment. And everybody says, oh, well, I can't do that. This is what my mother did. This is what my parents did. Every one of us should be doing it. Everyone else, it's our duty to be trying to stop this whole system of the landfill, etc. It's a little thing, but we can all do something towards it. Not listen to everybody else say, oh, the green economy. Every one of us has the power to change the situation.
I love that. I mean, we always say each one teach one, but we've also got to live it. It's so often that people throw around all these wonderful slogans, but it doesn't really mean much. But I think what you're saying is it's possible for anyone to have a little green economy even in their homes, even in their businesses.
Everyone should have a green economy in their home, every single one. And I live it. I walk my talk.
That's awesome. Listeners, we're chatting to Ruth Acton, who runs a business called New Harmony Farm. She has the best chicken ever. Her chickens are happy. They roam the ground freely. They are not pumped full of, steroids?
Stimulants, anything else. I don't even buy commercial feed. I actually have it made up specially for me. With that, I can't just go off and go and buy my feed. I have to let the guy know at least a week in advance. And Rupert's always amazing with that. So all I've got to do is you've got to fit into the thing of letting him know in a week in advance what you want, so that he can buy all the goodies in, and he makes it up for me. So even there, I refuse. I mean, fish meal in chicken food. I mean, chickens don't eat fish. Why is there fish meal in their food? And do we not need those fish in the sea? It just doesn't make sense to me to actually go and buy the commercial stuff.
Well, Ruth, I think a lot of people are unaware of the value of having organic chicken, or proper happy chickens, like I like to call them, in terms of nutrition security, because food security is always discussed, but people seldom talk about the nutrition in the protein that they are consuming on a day-to-day basis. Can you talk a bit to our listeners about that?
Yes, certainly. In fact, I actually am having more and more cancer patients. And my whole reason for actually going back, I started chicken, and my neighbor sprayed his land, and I watched my chickens die. And I actually thought, I can't do this, because he wouldn't take responsibility for the fact that what he was spraying on the land was killing my chickens. And I wanted to give it up. And a friend of mine's husband got esophageal cancer. And he came to me and said to me, I'm afraid to say to you, you cannot just do eggs. You have to do the chickens as well. I cannot find the quality of chicken that you supply me, and I can't eat the other chickens. So I went back into producing chickens and slaughtering chicken. And once again, he said it was just the right thing to do. And as a result of that, I actually have quite a few cancer patients. And a perfect example of knowing whether there's nutrition or the nutritional value in it. I got contacted by someone who said she works in a lion sanctuary, and she had 5 little cubs that ate a plant that they shouldn't have eaten, so they were very ill. And they were all on drips and antibiotics for a whole week. And they recovered except 2 little cubs. They just didn't seem to get better. And someone said to her, you need to get a good quality meat for these things. And they said, well, she said, but I'm buying chicken, I'm getting this. They said, yeah, but what kind of chicken? They said, you must get chicken that doesn't have all these things in it. So then everybody said, no, you have to go to Ruth. So she came to me. And as a result of that, to this day, I donate all the chicken heads to the sanctuary. She said they're worth in 3 days. And it's the only change that these cubs had was the chicken heads in their diet. She said suddenly at the end of the 3rd day, she went to go and give them their normal food and stuff, and they were playing. And she said it was such a turnaround because even the vet didn't think they were going to make it. And she said 3 days, turn around.
Wow.
And since then, they don't look back. If anybody has any problems with health problems, she makes sure that they get a good supply of my chicken heads.
That's awesome. So Ruth is our entrepreneur we're chatting to this morning. And Ruth is someone that I met through the Gibbs Enterprise Development Academy program, which was sponsored by JP Morgan. While Ruth is busy saving lions, JP Morgan and Gibbs are doing their best to save or enhance the experience of entrepreneurs in South Africa. Ruth, I want to chat to you a bit about the program and what was it that interested you about the program which was being offered? Why did you decide to enter the program?
I entered the program because, as I told you earlier, I was, through a whole stage of my life with my children, a mother, essentially a mother. Even though I had the reflexology and the massage, I still wasn't in the big bad world of business. So having come out to the farm, I also went through a divorce. It was a very amicable divorce. My husband basically is a city man and I'm a country girl. And came out here and I thought to myself, how am I going to get on top of this? I mean, I've very boldly come out to the farm, but I actually don't have any true business savvy anymore. And a very good friend of mine sent me this application to say, go on this course. And I applied and everybody laughed at me and said, you're never going to get into this course. You're too old, and all the rest. I thought, no, I am determined to get onto this course because this is exactly what I need. And true, it was exactly what I needed. It gave me a rounding off of everything. It gave me a true sense of business, finance, marketing, in just every way. Gibbs actually gave me 360 degrees turnaround in my business.
That's incredible to hear. I mean, for myself as well, it wasn't, I never thought much of it when I did enter the program. I also didn't think I would get in. But I did, and I think what was really great for me, just look on the surface, was that at last there was an institution that was looking at entrepreneurs in the green space. I mean, entrepreneurship already falls by the wayside at school level, not really pursued much at university level. But here was a program that was specific to entrepreneurs, but in the green space. And I think that for me was quite inspirational. A big business like JP Morgan coming on board saying, listen, we recognize that your green economy is growing. The country has certainly committed to it, whether we follow through on our decisions or not as decision makers. There is a huge drive towards growing small business in this space. Do you believe that it's still a viable industry or sector to go into? I mean, the report, and I'd spoken to Thembani about it earlier, the research report called Murky Waters, is that what it is for you? Or do you believe that there really is still opportunity for young people, particularly considering career options, business options? Do you believe that there is an opportunity for them to grow and contribute in this space?
100%. Absolutely. It's there. You've just got to have the drive and, more importantly than anything, the passion, and know what you want to do. And if you have the compassion and you just need that commitment to getting somewhere, you will, because it is out there. There's such a huge amount of opportunity out there. You've just got to grab it with both hands, knuckle down, and get on with it. I work hard, but I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think it's great. Also, what I found quite interesting was the mix of people. Sure, we had quite a few people in recycling initiatives, gardening initiatives, and in clean energy. But I found that it wasn't one particular thing. we had businesses and individuals as diverse as they come. Your thoughts,
Absolutely.
Ruth? What was your experience? I mean, who are the standout candidates from the class for you, whether it was their opinions, their business savvy? What sort of insights did you pick up? I'll share one with you that I got on the very first day. And I mentioned this earlier when Yogi said you entrepreneurs generally focus so much on working in your business that you lose sight of working on your business. So that was a huge insight for me. Was there anything stand out for you either from the class discussions or from the lecturers who had come?
Well, I just felt that Gibbs gave us a very high caliber lecturer. I mean, I don't want to know names. Ian Reader, for instance, I mean, the whole thing of the fact that the caliber of the man or what he was coming to talk to us, I thought was just incredible. And that we were not treated as people who didn't know much. I mean, they treated us as equals, as small as we were in our business, which I thought was amazing. What I got out of immersive was that right from the beginning, we could see that we were a very, very diverse group. And the fact that, for me, the standout thing was no judgment. None of us were judged for who we were or where we were in our space at that time. And I think as a result of that, all of us grew within the space of the group that we were in because there was no judgment.
I think it's a very important point that you make, Ruth, because often you do feel judged. You know, some people came with a stronger marketing background and others came with a stronger financial background and others with a more technical background. So it was really great to be in what I like to call a very safe space. And we chatted with Thembani as well earlier about this lonely road of being an entrepreneur, and that whether you find yourself in a fraternity of people like we've done with Gibbs, it's important for entrepreneurs to find not necessarily business mentors, but sometimes it's life mentors, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm having one of my biggest things about being organic, so to speak, is the understanding of people to understand, I want a 1.5 kilogram chicken. I want a large egg. There's no thinking of where we're going in the fact that if you have hens that are natural, they start off with small eggs. They have to get bigger. Your chickens, because in these huge houses, they are monitored so many hours. The chickens can be between 1.3 and 1.5 kilos. My chickens, because they go outside, it's like having children grow up. You feed them the same thing, they don't grow the same way. And these are my children. As a result of that, when I cull 200 chickens, they can range from 900 grams through to 1.9 kilos. And that's something people also don't understand. We want our chickens based between 1.3 and 1.5. There's no give and take. That we want the commercial feel of it all, but we want to support the organic. And I find I'm having my most difficult time is trying to explain to people that it's not coming out of a box so it's exactly the size, which all these things, the chickens and the eggs and everything else and all these big houses, they actually are coming out of boxes. My chickens and my eggs are not coming out of boxes.
And I think it's an important point to make is that a lot of people just don't get it. Whichever business you are in, I'm just saying it could be look at what Winston was doing with his grid cars, his electric cars. And then we had Rajan Moodley, who had this board game, which is all about the green economy and being sustainable. And each to his own, but each road and each journey is different for any number of entrepreneurs. And I think the onus is on us as entrepreneurs in the green space to do our bit to share information, to educate, to inform people. While we talk broad strokes green economy and broad strokes we talk sustainability, does the common man, the common person understand what that actually means? And I've said it often that if sustainability or the green theme had the kind of marketing budget that Coca-Cola does, the entire world would have transitioned to sustainable living and sustainable business practices. I just feel that, there's no part of the world where you cannot find a can of Coke or a Coca-Cola sign. I just wish that corporate South Africa and the corporate world globally would commit more to informing people. And sometimes I feel like it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but there's a reason why they don't want people to know. what it means to live sustainably, the impact of climate change. Do you have any views on that, Ruth?
Sure. Now, I don't know. It's very difficult to get it across, to get it out there. And I mean, the only thing is that people come to me because they want to bring up their chickens naturally. There is no one out there actually teaching people or training people. I mean, I had my banker coming to give me advice, but he's a commercial chicken farmer, and he just said, at the end of seeing me, he was actually shocked at how difficult his thinking. He couldn't think on my line with having the chickens done naturally, because he was so geared in that whole commercial system. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that the change of everything. And we just need to going back to the basics. We don't need all the technology that we've got. It's nice, but at the same time, what quality of life are we actually having, just generally? Just our quality of life.
Yeah.
I just feel we're losing it. We're falling by the wayside. And as a result of that, they're all worried about what works for you rather than actually being in the green space of what's good for the planet.
I met a very interesting, she calls herself an eco-activist, a social activist, a Swedish lady by the name of Louise Thunberg. And her contention is that all of these technologies really serve very little purpose if we don't, as the human race, adjust the way that we consume, what we consume, how we consume it, and how that more is never enough. So I think it's been a very interesting journey in the Gibbs class in particular, just hearing these different perspectives. And I think the one thing that stands out for me from everybody in the class is that everybody wants to change the world. Everybody wants to make a positive difference. And I'd asked our earlier guest, what do you believe the future of this group should be or could be? I mean, the class is over. We've done our graduation. Does it end here? Do you feel that we could still continue these conversations, perhaps for some? I mean, we had one in the class who's basically sold his business over the last couple of months. He sold one of his businesses. So that's really amazing growth. Others have upscaled. Others are expanding and diversifying their offering. What do you believe JP Morgan and Gibbs could do to keep this conversation alive and keep the growth of our businesses alive?
You talk about Jenny within the group.
Within the group.
I don't know if JP Morgan can do much more for us. I think that the group itself, it has huge dynamics, and I think that we are moving forward. I mean, I'm sure you've seen all the WhatsApps over the last few days.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone just shows how diverse we are and how spirited, so to speak, that we become. And the fact that, once again, it's not a judgment call. It's a case of learning from each other. And I love the group because I think there's so much more that I can learn, because a viewpoint comes up and I think, I never saw it that way. And I'm sure when I say something, someone else hasn't seen it that way. So from that point of view, I think us in the group is going to grow. I don't think we're just going to fade away. I do believe that we're a strong group. And since I'm head of social media, I will be having a breakfast on my farm one of these days very soon.
Yeah. So we can come and see your chickens.
Absolutely. I want you all here. I want you to see my space. I would like to share my space. And I'd like to see how we're moving forward. So on my social media side, that is what I'd like to do for this little Gibbs group, which I will be doing within the next month.
Oh, I so look forward to that, Ruth. Ruth, thank you for taking some time to chat to us, to share with our listeners your experience. I will ask of you, just as a parting shot, what is your advice to entrepreneurs? I know that there's always an issue around funding. There's an issue around incubator programs and mentorship. What is your advice to someone considering becoming an entrepreneur within this green economy?
You have to start small. You obviously have to have a big plan at the end, but you cannot go anywhere unless you take that first step. You can't start a destination unless you turn the ignition in the key to make the car go. It's those kind of things that you need to do. You have to start small. I've been getting here, and I'm at a point now where everything is exactly the way I want it. It's running efficiently, but it's taken me 6 years to get here. Gibbs has helped me become more efficient with it, but it has taken me 6 years to get to the point where I wanted to be 6 years ago. So I didn't think it was going to take this long, but I'm pleased with what I've done because all of it has been a learning curve. You never lose. You never lose what the mistakes, the curveballs it throws you. You always grow stronger. And the more curveballs you get, the stronger you're going to get. And just hang in there, be positive. And if your mindset is right, you will get there.
Thank you so much, Ruth. I'm going to just reiterate just one really big statement you made, which is start small and take the first step. So listeners, if you're considering career options, employment options even, consider this, that whatever it is that you've set about to do with your life, start small and take the first step. You've been tuned into the Greenovation Show, which comes to you live from Brand Live in Melville. And we've been chatting to Ruth Acton from New Harmony Farm. Ruth, it's been amazing. I hope to have you on the show again.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for thinking of me. And I really am grateful for the time that you've given me.
Awesome. So we always end the show by stating what we believe. We have 54 million voices in South Africa. I'm using mine. Use yours. Till next time.
brandlive.co.za